Forget the stats for a second. If you put the 5 best drivers in history in the same car, on the same track, who survives? A lot of people are going to hate this list, but the truth hurts. Who's the greatest of all time? Be careful with that question. It's a trap. What does greatest even mean? Lap times? Trophies? Numbers twisted by eras and regulations? The stopwatch never told the full story. Real dominance doesn't start in the data. It starts inside the head of the person driving. Talking about the GOAT in F1 is like walking through a minefield. You're comparing times when cars were basically death traps on wheels with what's basically aerospace technology today. Jim Clark was dancing with steel and fire. Verstappen drives data-shaped lightning. Whole different worlds, but the same core, the mind. Mental domination never ages. Before they beat others, they beat fear itself. Spend 30 seconds inside a car from the 60s and you'd understand the madness. No halo, no protection, no data feeds. Just metal, fumes and faith. Today, Formula One is a masterpiece of precision, but underneath, someone is still trying to hold their breath half a second longer than the next guy. Being the best was never just about the trophies. It's about forcing the sport to change because of you. When the entire paddock bends around your rhythm, when the engineers reshape the car around you, when you stop being part of the system and start being its center of gravity. The formula I'm using is simple: raw talent, influence inside the paddock, and how completely they broke the souls of their teammates. You really want to know who's the greatest? It's the one who makes everyone else question themselves. Jim Clark. The smoothest hands to ever touch a steering wheel. He didn't drive, he flowed. The car felt like his thoughts had weight. No wasted energy, no aggression, just precision so clean it looked unfair. He could win in anything. F1, IndyCar, touring cars, whatever rolled. Engineers used to say his tires lasted longer because he never hurt the car. That's mastery. When you move through chaos without breaking a single thing. And what makes Clark so haunting is he never shouted about it. No drama, no ego. Just gentle, almost shy excellence. In today's world, he'd be misunderstood. Too quiet, too polite, too pure. But those who get it know it. Clark was what everyone secretly wanted to be. Then came Schumacher, the system incarnate. Not a driver, an ecosystem. He trained like a soldier, studied like an engineer, commanded like a CEO. Before him, Ferrari was poetic chaos. After him, it was iron discipline. He redefined the physical game, turned drivers into athletes, teams into armies. You could see it in his eyes before a race. Not a hint of doubt, just calculation. Schumacher's secret wasn't only speed, it was intensity. The kind that crushes others by consistency. Teammate, rival, engineer, instrument. And by the time you realized he was playing a mental game, he was already 5 laps ahead. Even when the car was garbage, he made performance appear out of thin air. 1996. Ferrari wasn't ready, but he still dragged it to glory. That's the difference between good and transcendent. Visual. Ferrari red reflections through Spa's rain, pit stops like military reloads. Editing. Racing sound syncing with heartbeats and breathing. And then, Senna. The man who turned a steering wheel into something spiritual. He didn't drive to win. He drove to prove something even he couldn't name. That first lap at Donington 93. Find me a piece of physics that explains that. He was switching gears manually, on slicks, in heavy rain, no traction control. Just human instinct sharpened to weapon grade. Senna lived in that thin air where faith and madness blur. He prayed before races, cried alone, then got in the car and annihilated professional racers like they were NPCs. He didn't just win, he moved people. Fans worshipped him, rivals feared him, and the sport itself bent toward him like gravity. He wasn't just a driver, he was the storm F1 will never fully recover from. Then Hamilton, the calm center of chaos. The kid who carried history on his shoulders and somehow made it look easy. He doesn't crack, he resets. From his very first lap at McLaren to the dominance years at Mercedes, you never saw him lose himself emotionally. Always controlled, always calculating, always dangerous. What he built with Mercedes was bigger than wins. He turned the most corporate machine in motor racing into a dynasty defined by his rhythm. What defines Hamilton is subtlety. He doesn't force reality, he negotiates with it. He knows when to attack, when to hold, when to let the others burn tyres while he guards his. It's chess at 300 kilometers per hour, and when people doubt him, he answers with laps that look effortless. Silverstone wet track, tyres gone, and still wins. People call him corporate now, but one day history will realize he rewrote consistency itself. Quiet brilliance disguised as calm. And then Verstappen, the new beast, the guy who turned chaos into logic. He fights with surgical rage, pure aggression, wrapped in control. He drives like he's arguing with gravity, and always wins the argument. When you listen to his radio, silence means danger. No chatter, no complaints, just destruction. He doesn't care about being liked, doesn't want to play political games. He's here to crush everyone, with precision, and that's exactly why the sport needs him. A rule breaker who refuses to act like one. He takes a Red Bull that's already great and turns it into something unfair. He doesn't slide, he sketches. Every lap holds anger folded neatly between milliseconds. That's why he's terrifying. He's fast, but colder than the stopwatch itself. Mechanical perfection, with zero hesitation. Put the five side by side and you can see it clearly. Clark, purity. Schumacher, structure. Senna, emotion. Hamilton, balance. Verstappen, precision. 5 different ways of rewriting the same question. What's possible when nothing's enough? They're connected too. Clark inspired Senna. Senna shaped Schumacher. Schumacher defined Hamilton. Hamilton raised the standard that created Verstappen. Different eras, same virus, obsession, a fever that never cools down. The look before the lights go out, the heavy breath, the steel focus. None of them were racing others. They were chasing a shadow that only they could see. That's the thing. Greatness looks different with each generation, but the hunger feels identical. When you peel the layers away, all 5 are the same breed of controlled psychopaths disguised as athletes. They didn't want to win. They wanted to erase any reference point for everyone else. That's why the word GOAT doesn't fit. They're not part of a ranking. They're glitches in the matrix of competition itself. And yeah, I can already hear you shouting, what about Fangio? What about Lauda? What about Prost? Sure, they belong in the conversation. But to make this top 5, it's not enough to win. You've got to scare people. Clark made it look like art. Schumacher made it military. Senna made it divine. Hamilton made it inevitable. Verstappen makes it unfair. Yeah, I know. You're typing, what about Fangio? In the comments right now. But being the best means pushing the limit till it breaks. So, what's your score for my top 5? Drop it below.